we'll continue with our police state updates and continue with our coverage of the Portland Patsy, or as we euphemistically refer to him as the tree bomber. Hashtag tree bomber. Police state updates, Portland Patsy and the DHS PSAs. The first article here is another notch, another good bit on the stack of great news and amazing growth over this last just week for MediaMonarchy.com. An article on PrisonPlanet.com, and it was posted around, I believe it's on ActivistPost.com and some other sites, written by Tony Cartalucci. Portland Patsy serves as impetus for rejoining terrorism task force. What should you do when your government's FBI contacts, trains, and unleashes a terrorist to try and blow up your city's Christmas tree and thousands of bystanders using an FBI-made bomb? Hand over your city's security to the FBI, of course. Now, this story concerns in 2005, Portland was the only city and the first city in America to withdraw from the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. And then, of course, that was under the Bushes. The Dems in here in liberal Portland distrusted the Bush cronies, but now that there's a guy with a D after his name, and now that they've had a catalyzing paranoia scare with an FBI patsy and an FBI-made bomb and a ready-made prime-time event on Blackjack Friday to scare the hell out of everybody, just as they were getting sick of the TSA story, they need to be rattled and reminded of why we're in the war of terror. So when this happened immediately, of course, the one guy, Saltzman, one of our commissioners, who was against us pulling out of the task force, in the wake of the tree bomber, of course, he was the first to say, we should join the task force again. But the latest I have is that they're not going to really try and go for it just yet. And again, that's more phone calls to be made. However, the awesome part of this article for me jumps to the bottom, the final paragraph of this article on PrisonPlanet.com. Portland Patsy serves as impetus for rejoining terrorism task force. Where this goes from here is ultimately up to the people of Portland. They can demand that decisions regarding their city never be based on what Media Monarchy calls paranoia, manufactured by the FBI. They can demand that their own police be given the resources they need to serve and protect their community within the confines of the Constitution and according to their own local values. They should support Mayor Adams on his original stance, as he was right the first time and still occupies the moral high ground. There is real terrorism indeed, and it's trying to force people like Mayor Adams to compromise on his convictions and concede that moral high ground. Huge thanks to Tony Cartalucci in that article for quoting and citing MediaMonarchy.com. That gave us huge hits and huge coverage. So while the Portland tree bomber story went viral, the work I've done with James Corbett on the WikiLeaks PSYOP, that's gone viral. And again, it's all thanks to you guys for spreading the word and sharing this and posting links and sharing it any way you can. Again, it's all free, it's all open source, it's all fair use, it's all public domain. Just share it. A couple of other related Portland Patsy updates from the Associated Press. Teen arrested in Oregon car bomb plot led to lives, which reminds us of some old exploitation pulp film. No, that reminds us of Lee Harvey Oswald's favorite TV show, I Led 3 Lives. Of course, involving FBI informants and double, triple agents. The Seattle Times asking the important question, was the FBI grooming Portland suspect for terror? And it gets more ridiculous. The headline from the Washington Post, tension grows between California Muslims and the FBI after informant infiltrates mosque. Or, more to the point, FBI plants informant in mosque to incite violence. Muslims report him to the FBI. He was so obvious. All he wanted to do was talk about violence. That, of course, your average God-fearing Muslim said, who the hell is this guy? He's obviously a plant. He's obviously an informant. He's obviously an agent provocateur. These are the things used to blame mass amounts of people in false flag activities. Whether it's problem, reaction, solution, the Hegelian dialectic, any of these terms and these phrases and these paradigms, they're just being used over and over again in slightly different guises. But again, they all play out in this amazing made-for-TV way. Following up on that story, allgov.com notes the FBI paid an ex-con $177,000 to entrap Muslims. We create the terror, and by we, I mean the hijacked government. We're not a democracy. We're supposed to be a constitutional republic, but we have been hijacked by finance oligarchs and elite bloodlines and multi-generational serial killers. And these are the games they play against all of us. And again, shadows on the wall. Fake terror, shadows on the wall. Julian Assange, shadows on the wall. Another bomb plotter arrested, however, this time in Baltimore. Baltimore man was arrested on Wednesday on charges he plotted to detonate a vehicle bomb at a U.S. Armed Forces recruitment center in Maryland, a plot that was a sting operation. There was no actual danger to the public as the explosives were inert and the suspect had been carefully monitored by law enforcement for months, said Justice Department spokesman Dean Boyd. He declined to identify the individual arrested. Law enforcement officials said the individual arrested was a 21-year-old male who's an American citizen and converted to be a Muslim. The case is the latest in a series of sting operations by law enforcement agencies involving terrorism plots, including one case in which an Oregon man was arrested last month on charges he tried to detonate a car bomb near a Christmas tree lighting ceremony in Portland. Obama crony conflict of interest Eric Holder has defended such sting operations, saying they are integral to finding people who are on a path to attack the U.S. and Americans. Some defense lawyers have questioned whether it's entrapment. And as if that's not ridiculous enough, we've reported on all the crazy things about Al-Qaeda using dog bombs and planting bombs in Christmas toys, and that's a war on Christmas if there ever was one. Danger Room reporting on Al-Qaeda's latest weapon, poison perfume. However, as we noted earlier in the WikiLeaks PSYOP coverage and others on cyberspacewar.com, the way some of our right-leaning talking heads on the controlled corporate media paradigm of Fox or MSNBC, and there's not a damn bit of difference, we now have folks on the right awakening to the things that are going on that, of course, they tacitly went along with during the Bush administration and now want to act like, oh my God, everything's gone crazy since Obama's come in. They might use false flag activities, as Michael Savage started to talk a hell of a lot about, and where'd he go? Geraldo says recent domestic terror plots are fake.
John, this is just another in a long string of domestic terror cases involving a 21-year-old U.S. citizen, a recent convert to Islam. His name, Antonio Martinez, but he also went by the name Mohammed Hussein. He's facing 2 counts of terrorism for allegedly plotting to blow up a military recruiting center in Catonsville, Maryland, outside Baltimore. But because of a tip from an informant, the FBI was onto him. They provided him with a fake bomb. When he went to detonate it this morning, it did not go off, and he was arrested.